Hi, Dr. Randy Grill, nursing home dentist, talking today about pre-medication for dental procedures for heart murmur. That is no longer needed. In 2007, the American Heart Association changed the requirements because they believe, and their studies show, that you're 10 times more likely to die from the antibiotic pre-medication than you are from bacterial endocarditis. Now, that doesn't mean that just because you have a heart murmur you don't have to worry about bacterial endocarditis. It's just more dangerous to pre-medicate you than it is for you to get to your heart doctor if you feel you've had problems after a dental procedure. And so it's just know that. Go to AmericanHeart.org and type in dental premedication guidelines. You will pull up a prevention of infective or bacterial endocarditis wallet card, and on this wallet card it'll tell you everything that you need to know, that no longer do we premedicate for the old things, but now the 4 things we premedicate for are prosthetic cardiac valve. If you have a cardiac valve that's been replaced and it's a prosthesis, we need to premedicate you still. Previous endocarditis, and if you don't know what endocarditis is, don't worry about it, you haven't had it. Congenital heart disease only with these following categories, and cardiac transplant recipients with valve disease. Those are the only 4 reasons we need to premedicate you for now with dental procedures. Pull this wallet card off, AmericanHeart.org, and just look up in the little box, dental premedication guidelines. Get their wallet card out and you'll know everything you need to know. Now, one thing that's real important to know is most dentists know about this, but not all dentists. It's not on the radar scope everywhere. Most physicians do not know about this. In fact, Dr. Fang, and I follow one of his reference books called The Ultimate Cheat Sheet, The Practical Guide for Dentists, and I heard Dr. Fang talk. He's a heart surgeon, I believe, or a heart specialist, and he talked and said in his residency program, who are the sharpest of all sharp physicians, only 38% knew about the 2007 guideline changes from the American Heart Association, and the ADA followed soon after in changing these guidelines. So your physician may or may not know. I have talked to a large number of DONs who didn't know and were thrilled to know, who were going to inform their physicians. But one thing you need to know, every trial lawyer knows. In fact, about 100% of the trial lawyers know, because the lawsuits before 2007, the day the regulations came out, they came out at 4 o'clock. That day they would sue a dentist for not giving antibiotics for a heart murmur, and at 5 o'clock they were suing dentists if they did give antibiotics. So that's kind of an irony of the system, that there are more trial lawyers that know about this 2007 change than there are dentists and physicians. And so you need to protect yourself, and that's why I give you the AmericanHeart.org, and look it up yourself. Get it for yourself. You need to protect yourself in this day and age, because the antibiotics are more dangerous or more sure and kill more people, 10 times more people, than not having it now. But if you have a prosthetic cardiac valve, previous endocarditis, you had congenital birth problems, you need to pull this out because it's too long to read here, or if you had a heart transplant and you have valve disease. So be warned, protect yourself, make sure your dentist knows these guidelines, and most dentists I practice in the state of Oklahoma are very up to date here. But there is something in all of us that it's hard to change. It was so drill. It took me, I'm embarrassed to say this, it took me over a year to trust this new 2007 guidelines. I didn't hurt anybody, but if I'm stodgy, if it was hard for me to change, and I want, this is important to me. This is not just a job, it's a calling. If it was hard for me to change, there are still dentists out there where this is a tough deal. It's been drilled into so long. Never touch a person with a heart murmur until they're on antibiotic therapy. So that is a problem, and you protect yourself. Now, it's also one dentist, the physician wanted him to premedicate, so he wrote the physician a letter and said, you know, we didn't do it, and the physician wrote back a nasty letter, she must be premedicated. So the dentist wrote the prescription for the antibiotic therapy. The person died, and the physician wasn't sued, but the dentist was, because he prescribed the medication. So in my practice, if I haven't run into this, but if I do, I will write back to the physician and say, you prescribe it, this is the appointment time, you prescribe it, it's against what I will do because of the American Heart Association and the ADA guidelines of 2007. So there are ways, if your physician wants to do it, have him prescribe it, and if the dentist won't do it for good reason, there are ways around that, and that's my plan. And that's what Dr. Fang recommended that I do, that you have the physician, if he believes that much in it and he's willing to do that, but I have to follow the protocols and guidelines that I trust and know, which are the American Heart Association, the American Dental Association, and so be informed. Thank you. Dr. Randy Grill, Nursing Home Dentist.